Welcome to Botany class. We shall discuss the topic virus. The word virus is very familiar to you. All around nowadays we are hearing the word virus, coronavirus. Have you heard these words? Ebola, Ebola virus, SARS and AIDS. Have you heard these words or have you read in the newspaper or anywhere? These are different types of viruses. What are they? There are serious entities which are causing diseases and which is the biologist puzzle. So, these viruses are biologist puzzle because it shows living as well as non-living nature. Why viruses are puzzle, biologist puzzle? Because it shows living and non-living characteristic features. It shows. These viruses, the word virus which is derived from Latin, the meaning is poison. The word virus which is derived from Latin, the meaning of that is poison because the virus which causes diseases. The study of virus is known as virology. Study of virus is known as virology. These serious entities which causing diseases, they are ultra microscopic. These viruses are submicroscopic or ultra microscopic because we can see it only through microscope. So, it is microscopic or ultra microscopic, obligate intracellular parasite. Viruses are obligate intracellular parasite because outside the cell it cannot show living nature. Inside the cell it shows the living nature. There are milestones in virology. Let us see how this, there are so many scientists they discovered, and after the discoveries of them it shows the milestone in the study. The study of virus is virology. So, milestones in virology. There are few one-word questions are there. Edward Jenner in the year 1796. Edward Jenner in the year 1796, he find out the vaccination of smallpox. So, who found the vaccination of smallpox? Edward Jenner in the year 1796. Then Adolf Meyer in the year 1886, he found the infective nature of virus. There is a type of virus called TMV, tobacco mosaic virus. TMV is called as tobacco mosaic virus. The infectious nature of TMV is found by Adolf Meyer in the year 1886. Then Dmitry Ivanovsky in the year 1892, there was a person, Dmitry Ivanovsky, he found that the viruses which are smaller than bacteria, you know that bacteria is small, but these viruses are smaller than bacteria, which is found by Dmitry Ivanovsky in the year 1892. Then M.W. Bajering, he found the infectious agent. At first, the infectious agent which is named as Contagium vivum fluidum. The nature, the viruses which are infective nature. At first, the infective nature was named as Contagium vivum fluidum. The name which is given for the infectious nature of the virus is contagium vivum fluidum. Then F.W. Twart, he found the viral infection in bacteria, viruses which infect bacteria, which is determined by F.W. Twart. Then D. Herrill, the term bacteriophage is coined by D. Herrill. Bacteriophages are viruses infect bacteria is called as bacteriophage. The term bacteriophage was coined by D. Herrill. So, these are the milestones of virology. So, what is virology? The study of viruses. There are different viruses. The study of viruses are called as virology. These are the milestones in virology. Now, the size and shape of the viruses. So, first topic you are going to learn today is size and shape of the viruses. The size of the virus is ultra microscopic. The viruses are ultra microscopic, which ranges from 20 to 300 nanometer. 20 to 300 nanometer it ranges. Bacteriophage. What are bacteriophage? Virus which infect bacteria are called as bacteriophage, which ranges from 10 to 100 nanometer. So, viruses ranges from 20 to 300, bacteriophages ranges from 10 to 100 nanometer. And another type of virus is called as tobacco mosaic virus. We can say it as TMV, tobacco mosaic virus, ranges from 300 into 20 nanometer. This is the size of tobacco mosaic virus. Now, symmetry. There are different symmetry, the viruses which shows different symmetry. The first symmetry is cuboid symmetry. So, you are going to learn three symmetries: cuboid symmetry, helical symmetry and complex symmetry. What are the symmetries? First one, cuboid symmetry. The example of cuboid symmetry is adenovirus. This is the symmetry, nature of the cuboid symmetry. So, this virus is adenovirus. The example of cuboid symmetry is adenovirus. This virus which contains a fiber, DNA and protein. Actually, the viruses which possess a nucleic acid core surrounded by a protein. The structure of this virus is, it contains a nucleic acid, either DNA or RNA. Usually, there are single type of nucleic acid, either DNA or RNA. When the viruses which possess DNA, it is called as deoxyviruses, and when it possesses RNA, RNA viruses. So, this virus either it contains DNA or RNA. So, here it is DNA is present surrounded by a protein coat. So, this shape, first you studied that size of the viruses, this is the shape of the viruses. Cuboid symmetry, example adenovirus. Then helical symmetry, example tobacco mosaic virus, TMV virus. This is the symmetry, helical symmetry. This is the tobacco mosaic virus which contain RNA as the genetic material. Then complex or atypical symmetry. Complex symmetry is otherwise called atypical symmetry. Example bacteriophage. So, this bacteriophage which contains a head region and a collar and a sheath and a fiber and a basal plate, tail region, head, collar and a tail. It consists of three different parts. This is the head region which consists of the nucleic acid. Here the nucleic acid is DNA, and the DNA which is surrounded by this DNA nucleic acid, and here collar, then there is a sheath and tail fibers and basal plate is there. This is the structure of bacteriophage, T4 bacteriophage complex. It shows the symmetry complex or atypical symmetry. Now, classification of virus, classification. Classification of viruses. There are number of classifications, but here you are going to learn one classification based on David Baltimore in the year 1971. Based on David Baltimore classified viruses based on the nucleic acid content. The nucleic acid, which is here it shows the double stranded DNA or single stranded DNA, or the presence of plus sense or antisense, or the presence of reverse transcriptase. So, based on this, he classified the viruses into 7 different categories, 7 classes. What are the 7 classes? The first class is viruses with dsDNA. So, dsDNA, it is called as double stranded. Either it is single stranded DNA or it is double stranded DNA. Based on this dsDNA, dsDNA or dsRNA, ssDNA or ssRNA. SS is single stranded, ds is double stranded. So, based on this nature, there are 7 classes of virus. Number 1, dsDNA, viruses with dsDNA. Then viruses with plus sense ssDNA. ssDNA is single stranded DNA. And dsRNA, third classification is viruses with dsRNA, double stranded RNA, because it possesses either DNA or RNA. So, it is double stranded DNA or double stranded RNA, single stranded DNA or single stranded RNA. So, dsRNA. Then viruses with plus sense ssRNA, single stranded RNA. Then antisense ssRNA. Then plus sense ssRNA, RT is the reverse transcriptase, RT that replicate with DNA. Reverse transcriptase replicate with DNA, or reverse transcriptase replicate with RNA. So, it is based on 2 different types. Plus sense ssRNA reverse transcriptase, which is represented as RT, reverse transcriptase that replicate with DNA is one type of classification. dsDNA RT replicate with RNA is another type of classification. Hope you understand. Plus sense ssRNA reverse transcriptase that replicate with DNA is one class. Another class, dsDNA RT replicate with RNA. One is replicate with DNA, another one replicate with RNA. So, based on this, there are 7 different classes. And the viruses, I told you, the viruses which shows living and non-living nature. What are the living nature of virus and what are the non-living nature? Living characteristics, it shows living characteristics as well as non-characteristics, living features and non-living features. When it is living, when the virus enters into the body, because it causes disease in plants, animals, bacteria as well as human beings. So, nowadays it is very familiar, the word virus, and you all know the viruses which are causing diseases even in human beings. So, this living nature, the viruses, when it is present inside the body, that means the host, it has a host specificity. When the virus enter into the body, either a plant body or animal body or bacteria or even human being, when it enters inside, it shows the living nature. What are the living nature? This, it multiplies. When it enters inside, it multiplies and it causes diseases. So, it multiplies, cause disease, it cause diseases only it enter inside, cause disease, it multiplies and it has the host specificity, host specificity. It has a host specificity. What are the non-living nature? In the non-living features, non-living nature of virus, viruses can be crystallized. crystallized. Viruses can be crystallized. There was a scientist, W.M. Stanley, who crystallized the viruses from tobacco mosaic virus. So, crystallized form of viruses. Viruses can be crystallized. Crystallization is the nature of non-living. It is not the nature of living. So, because of this nature, crystallization, these viruses are non-living. When the virus is outside the host, if it is outside the human body or outside the plant or animal, it is non-living. It does not show any metabolic activity. So, there is no metabolic activity. Another nature of this non-living nature of viruses, no metabolism. What is this? Metabolic activity. The chemical reactions, no chemical reactions in its body. When you observe the structure of this virus, it consists of a nucleic acid. The nucleic acid is just surrounded by a protein coat. That is the structure of it. So, there are no metabolic activity, there is no enzyme formation. So, it shows a non-living nature, and outside the host it can be crystallized. So, these all natures which shows the non-living nature of virus. Now, let us learn the nucleic acid content, the genetic material of this viruses. The nucleic acid content present in this are, so here cuboid symmetry which contains DNA, here in this helical symmetry it contains RNA, and bacteriophage also contains DNA. So, the nucleic acid, it possesses, the virus which possesses a nucleic acid content. Nucleic acid, this nucleic acid is surrounded by a protein coat. So, structure is very simple. There is a nucleic acid content, either it's DNA or RNA, which is surrounded by a protein coat. And this nucleic acid is in the form of two types, either RNA and DNA. RNA is ribonucleic acid, DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. So, any one type, usually it contains a single type. Most of the plant viruses which possess RNA as the genetic material. RNA is present almost all of the plant viruses, and animal viruses which possess DNA as the genetic material. But few exceptions are there. Exceptions of DNA, animal virus, HIV. You all know this, AIDS, that is HIV virus, HIV which is the animal virus, but it possesses RNA as the genetic material. Likewise, in the plant viruses, all the plant viruses which contains RNA as the genetic material, but there is a virus called cauliflower mosaic virus which possesses DNA as the genetic material. So, there are few exceptions. Most commonly, all the plant viruses which possess RNA as the genetic material, animal viruses which possess DNA as the genetic material. And as you learned in the classification, there are two different types of DNA and RNA based on its strand, either double strand or single strand. Single strand RNA, double strand RNA, single strand DNA, double stranded DNA. And almost the shape of this nucleic acid content, either it is linear or in circular. Few cases it is segmented. That is the exceptions. So, first you learn the classification. It is very simple classification based on the nucleic acid content. Now, let us see one structure of the virus, that is tobacco mosaic virus, TMV. TMV stands for tobacco mosaic virus. So, this is the structure of tobacco mosaic virus. This virus comes under the symmetry helical symmetry. The symmetry of this TMV virus is helical symmetry, tobacco mosaic virus. As I mentioned earlier, the structure is very simple. there is a single core of nucleic acid. This is one of the plant virus, tobacco mosaic virus. So this tobacco mosaic virus which infect tobacco plant, the infectious nature is the infections caused by aphids and grasshoppers. Aphid and grasshopper. The grasshopper and aphid which infects the healthy plant. The healthy plant is infected by these insects, aphid and grasshoppers. So when this virus which contains RNA as the genetic material, tobacco mosaic virus contains RNA as the genetic material, and the nucleic acid RNA is surrounded by a protein coat. This is the protein coat. The name of the protein coat is capsid. The name of the protein coat is capsid. Surrounded by protein. So this tobacco mosaic virus was determined by, or it is discovered by, Dmitry Ivanowski in the year 1892. It was tobacco mosaic virus. The healthy plant of tobacco is infected by this virus. The name of the virus is tobacco mosaic virus. So easily you can remember, the name of the plant is tobacco plant. Tobacco plant is affected by a virus called tobacco mosaic virus, TMV, tobacco mosaic virus, which was found out by Dmitry Ivanowski in the year 1892. And the nucleic acid is surrounded by protein coat. The structure is very simple. A nucleic acid core surrounded by a protein coat. And this protein coat is named as capsid. So this capsid contains number of subunits. So these are the subunits, number of subunits which are known as capsomere. There are 2130 capsomeres present in the tobacco mosaic virus. One word question, 2130 capsomeres are present in the tobacco mosaic virus. And the RNA which RNA nucleotides are 6500. RNA nucleotides present in tobacco mosaic virus is 6500. So 6500 RNA nucleotides are present, 2130 capsomere is present in tobacco mosaic virus. So let's review what you learned today. At first, the topic is virus. First learn what are viruses. Viruses are ultra microscopic or submicroscopic disease causing biologist puzzle. So it causes disease. Obligate intracellular parasite. Then first learn the definition and size and shape of the virus. It ranges vary and there is a symmetry. There are different symmetry. Draw these three diagrams in the class note. This cuboid symmetry, helical symmetry and complex symmetry. Example, adenovirus. Here helical symmetry, tobacco mosaic virus, and complex symmetry, bacteriophage. So second question is size and shape of the viruses. Then living nature and non-living nature of virus. Living nature, very important question. Living nature and non-living nature. Because of living and non-living nature, it's the biologist puzzle. Then classification. Next important 5-mark question is classification of virus. Milestones. There are number of one-word questions are there. Milestones in virology. And finally there is a 5-mark question. Structure of tobacco mosaic virus. Learn well before the next class. Thank you.